Why hello again, and welcome to the School of Economic Thought. Either you have enjoyed the first video or you've wandered way off course. Either way, happy to have you here. I had hoped to bring in a few experts to help discuss today's topics, but seeing how the founding fathers of these topics are currently residing with the worms, they are unavailable. So I will have to suffice for today. Today we're going to be looking at market types, mainly focusing on the two prize fighters of the economic world, that of command economies, which is commonly associated with that of communism, and a market economy, often closely associated with that of capitalism. But before we get to the top part of the evening, we have to examine the undercard to fully appreciate the big showdown. So last time we discussed the idea of scarcity and how that leads us to make choices of how best to use or allocate our resources. This led to a discussion of opportunity costs and the three economic questions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. We aren't really concerned what the specific answer to any of those questions for a particular society is, but how they determine those answers. There are three pure ways to answer these questions, creating three pure market types. So let's examine those first, and then we'll look at the real world market types, or as they are known to economists, mixed economies. So the first way to answer the economic question is by tradition, meaning we will continue to do things the way and manner which they have always been done. What, how, for whom to produce are passed on from generation to generation with little to no change in methods. So if your dad was a cobbler, that's a shoemaker, guess what you get to learn what to be? A cobbler. If your dad was the semi-professional superhero, like, I don't know, E-Man, then guess what your lot in life is? E-Man 2.0. The problem with traditional economies is there is no progress. We keep doing things the same way in the same manner as always. So over time, people started thinking there must be a different way to do this, and thus new economic types developed. First, we'll examine that of the command economies, where the government makes all economic choices for you. So in a purely command economy, the government owns both the land and the capital, and by way of controlling where individuals work and their pay, the labor force as well. And because the government owns all the resources, they control how the economic questions are answered. Let's walk through an example for clarity. Let's say our society has the largest collection of comic book artists known in the history of mankind. That guy kind of looks familiar. So we can make comic books, which would make me, the consumer, very happy. Or we can make government illustrated instruction manuals, which would make our OCD government officials happy. Well, we know from our previous discussion that the artist cannot be maximized in the production of both the comic books and the instruction manuals. The government controls the artist, so guess what they're going to be producing? The instruction manuals. And they're going to produce these things in record numbers. Meaning that all the artists, paper, art supplies are devoted to the sole production of illustrated instruction manuals. As a side effect, there are very precious few comic books available, meaning they are expensive, probably of low quality since all the good artists would be working for the government, and there'd be long lines for them, meaning more wasted time. Well, that sounds like a lovely place, but it's not for every society. Now let's look at another option, that of the market economy. Market economies, unlike that of the command economy, has no person or committee in charge of production and consumption decisions. All economic decisions are the result of decentralized decisions made by many firms and individuals throughout the market. All economic decisions are based on what would be the most profitable to the producer or consumer. The decision of what to make, where to ship, are decisions made by individual firms with their motivating force being that of profits. Money. Think of the delivery of an economic book to your local comic book retailer. That is a complex process that happens with no central authority making sure it happens. It happens because there is a business or several businesses that have specialized in a step of the production process that wants to make a profit selling comic books to consumers who are willing to buy these comic books. How does the comic business know their consumers want to buy comic books? Because the consumers has bought comic books in the past, or comic books like that one. This whole process is described in Adam Smith's book, The Wealth of Nations, published in 1776. That date should sound familiar. And he calls this controlling mechanism the invisible hand. The invisible hand is the way in which an individual pursuit of self-interest can lead to the good result of the whole society. Okay, so we have a little background knowledge. We have studied the undercard. Quick review. Traditional economies and choices made by custom. Hello, E-Man 2.0. Command economy, choices made by the government, those lovely instruction manuals. And a market economy, choices made by the individual, whatever the consumer is willing to buy. Okay, let's look at the tale of the tape and weigh the pros and cons of these two heavyweight economies. Sorry, traditional economy, you were left behind long ago. Efficiency. This point has to go to the market economy. Companies within a market economy are free to switch production levels at any point in time, based solely on their own devices. They don't have to wait for a bureaucratic government agency to decide what they should produce, give them access to resources, or tell them what price to sell. Using profits as a motivation for market economies, they stay efficient. Employment opportunities. This one is close and can be based on a personal preference. Yes, in command economies, with governments guiding production levels, there are jobs for all. But this would be like the government feeding everybody. It would mostly be bland oatmeal. You're fed, but it gets stale after a while. While a market economy doesn't guarantee you a job, you do have the ability to develop your own product or skill to self-profit. It gives you options. Think that of a cereal aisle. Consumer sovereignty. Now, again, yes, technically within a command economy, you are free to make your own purchasing decisions. The government controls what is produced and how much you are paid. That sounds limiting to me. Within a market economy, consumers have a wider variety of goods to choose from and the ability to control, or at least negotiate, their wages. This gives them much greater sovereignty within a market economy. Yet another point for markets. I think we can see where this is going. While, yes, there are still command economies functioning within our modern global economy, here's looking at you, North Korea and Cuba. Even traditional commanding powers of China and Russia are starting to transition to market-based economies. Now, that doesn't mean a market economy is the perfect economy, and the United States, or any economy for that matter, is the perfect example of a pure market economy. Market economies have flaws. They can lead to greed, monopolies, and large wage gaps, which is why most market-based economies have some government intervention within them. But that's a discussion for another day. Till then, good day.